Well, hello there. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Escher. And hopefully we want you to stay tuned in the entire hour. As a matter of fact, stay tuned in all day long on EWTN Radio. Special shows are planned just for you. Happy first Friday of Lent. No meat today, no meat. I think, Jerry, about the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, when the aunt said, no meat? You don't eat no meat? No, no meat. Right?
Yeah, no meat and also fasting today as well. So,
Yeah, I love Fridays.
yeah.
Really, it really makes you remember why we're preparing for this wonderful season and getting our hearts ready so we can celebrate the resurrection. But we're coming upon the weekend, Jerry, and so that's exactly what our show is about. We're talking about Sundays.
That's right. Yeah, we want to know, what is your approach to Sunday? It's the Lord's Day. It's the Christian Sabbath, if you will. And we are called by the church, by God, by the Bible. We read it in Genesis. God rested on the seventh day, and the Jews, of course, always have observed a Sabbath. And we as Catholic Christians, we do the same thing. And so what the church requires of us really is to abstain from any unnecessary work or things that just would busy us and occupy us and really take our minds off of God. It's a day of rest and refreshment. But Debbie, we have so much trouble with this in our modern culture, I think.
We do. We really do. It's a third commandment. And so God he directed us to keep the commandments. And like you said, Jerry, our Jewish brothers and sisters, they keep holy the Sabbath Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Ours is the Resurrection Day, Sunday. And I have to admit, Jerry, I have sometimes used Sundays as my catch-up day. You know, I can't get some certain things done, like even some house chores and stuff like that. And then I think, okay, I have Sunday. There's there's not too much emailing going on, not too much work, not even so much communication with family or friends, and I can catch up. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, actually, it's very tempting for me, especially with work things. I would say for me, and I have to really kind of catch myself and say, wait a minute, this is the day that we give to God. And like you said, there are things around the house. And I think, when it comes to like household chores, mowing the grass, maybe doing laundry and things, in my mind anyway, that's a little bit different than maybe say, working on Sundays. Now, Debbie, a lot of people, just because of the way modern society operates, a lot of people have jobs where they work on Sundays. And so I would really love to hear from any of those people who, how you maybe observe a different day during the week as your Sabbath, or how do you just make that time, that day during the week to honor the Lord and for you to get rested and refreshed. So here's the number to call. It's 833 288 EWTN 3986 833 288 EWTN. Want to hear from anyone and everyone how you keep holy the Sabbath day.
I love getting up early on Sunday, going to Mass, and then going out to Sunday breakfast, and then just doing something just really casual, like maybe just driving around the neighborhood, or just, my husband's in real estate, so we're always, somehow it always revolves around houses. I don't know why. I guess I know why. He's in real estate. But I love that. I love starting it off very early. And have you ever gotten up super early on a Sunday and there's no one on the road? No one. And you're just driving to church and you're just praising God, and you got the CD on in your car, and you're just thinking, wow, this is like a little slice of heaven. And it would be great to keep that going all day long. So we want to talk about this today. We're in Lent, and this is a time where we really must examine how we do things as Christians, and try to improve, try to stretch ourselves, and really get our hearts prepared. This is an important season. So tell us how you honor the Sabbath, how you do it in your family. What you have to say helps all of us. Here's the number, 1-833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
especially if you have kids too. We always talk on this program about those teaching moments, those teaching opportunities for your children, and it's always best, Debbie, when we learn things at the earliest possible age. And so you can be a really good example to your kids. Maybe you've got family routines on Sunday where you just kind of maybe put the gadgets aside, have family meals. I mean, family meals are something that we don't really have on a regular basis during the week. So as a family, what do you do? Or if you're a single person, maybe you just like to get out into nature or something like that and just really, revel in God's creation. Whatever it is, you're going to, as Debbie said, you're going to teach and inspire today at 833-288-EWTN, talking about honoring, keeping holy the Sabbath day, because we're coming up on another one on Sunday.
That's true. And I would really love to hear from folks that you really never really paid attention to Sunday. It just it was another day in the week, and you just, continued on your work and your personal chores and stuff. And then all of a sudden you had a real eye-opening, aha moment where you said, you know what, I better do what God commands us to do. And then you changed everything in your family or with yourself. Tell us how, what came out of that, what blessings came out of that. Maybe you learned something about yourself. Maybe you learned something about fellow Christians, because I have a few friends, and it's wonderful. But a lot of times they want to do stuff on Sundays that I just don't feel, entertainment wise, like, bowling or something, but nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just think, well, maybe I should be doing something else, for the Lord. But then again, Jerry, I've had priests tell me that, if bowling is relaxing and, and you can talk about God and there's fellowship, then that's okay too. So it's very interesting to talk about this. And then our producer, Jeff Burson, today, because Rich is on vacation, he just said that Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A honor Sunday. So they're closed on Sundays, Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A, which I knew that. And I admire that so very, very much.
I do too. So we've got calls coming in and being screened by the one, the only Matt Gabensky. Jeff is in for Rich today, as Debbie said. Rich, Jesse will be back with us, I presume, on Monday, having a week of vacation to enjoy his lovely bride and their beautiful new little baby girl who's several months old now. Talking about honoring the Sabbath. It's coming up again on Sunday. What do you do? How do you keep holy? How do you really keep your thoughts focused on God and on your faith, and even getting your own batteries recharged? Let us hear from you on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
I'm Dr. Greg Popchak.
And I'm Lisa Popchak.
This is Father Spitzer, host of Father Spitzer's Universe. Have a blessed Lent from all of us at EWTN Radio.
Open Line Tuesday with Father Wade Meneses.
The Catechism is very clear in Numbers 1033, 1035, and 1037 that it takes only one mortal sin to have one go to hell by their own doing. God sends no one to hell.
Open Line with Father Wade Meneses, Tuesday afternoon, 3 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
The EWTN Warriors Rosary is a fitting tribute to all the spiritual warriors who have stood by us over the years. Handcrafted, each rosary is a unique creation. Get yours today. Visit EWTNRC.com.
Bishop Robert Barron on the priesthood.
Adam is construed as a priest. Adam, before the fall, is in the stance of right relationship to God. And so he's seen as a priest in the Garden of Eden as a kind of primordial temple, right? A place of right praise. What happens in sin is we lose that priestly role. We stop being priests. We start worshiping ourselves and worshiping creaturely things. So Jesus now is seen as the new Adam. He's the fulfillment of law and Torah and temple and sacrifice. Hence, he's the high priest. And so we see the cross as a place not just of Roman execution, but it's a place where the supreme sacrifice has been performed. And so the priesthood, in that sacrificial sense, continues in the mystical body of Christ. So to the present day, when I, as a priest, celebrate the sacrifice of the Mass, I'm standing in that great tradition, participating in the high priesthood of Jesus.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
We're talking about keeping holy the Sabbath, and how do you do that in your household? Remember, I mean, sometimes you may be inclined to just sit back and listen because you can learn, and we're grateful for that as well. But we need your participation. So if you feel prompted by the Spirit, we say it very often, call in 1-833-288-EWTN. Last four digits are 3986. Jerry, we're getting lines that are filling up. That's good.
Yeah, we are. Got a couple lines open right now, so please do join us. And Debbie, one thing that maybe some people have some thoughts to weigh in on is how maybe society has sort of had an influence on Christians.
In what
because
way?
I remember when I was growing up, I had my first job, starting when I was 12 years old, was in a grocery store, and we did the store. The law was you couldn't sell alcohol all day Sunday, or not until a certain time of the day or something. What do you call those? Blue laws or something?
I presume that's what it is. I think Jeff just said it's blue. Is it blue laws? Is it? I don't know.
Well,
You have
anyway,
to check
yeah,
on it. I'm
were
too young, Jerry. I don't remember that.
Well, the point being, and you know this, Deb, that I mean, even society at large, a generation or two ago, sensed something sacred about Sundays. And now, with commercialization and just the hustle and bustle, the speed at which we live and so forth, that's, culture's moved away from that. And I think I'd love to hear anybody's take to see if, maybe if we're influenced by that, or if we've been impacted by that in some way. So anything you have to share about keeping holy Sundays, 833-288-EWTN. Grab that open phone line that's right there waiting for you.
Jerry, isn't there several counties around the United States that still don't sell alcohol on Sundays? And I know Utah, the state of Utah, because I remember that was my state that I covered for Catholic Radio. And I remember you couldn't get alcohol, or you only could get a small portion after a certain time or something. It was very interesting laws. But I think that's the way to still, keep holy the day and give it to the Lord. We want to hear from you, though. Maybe you're not calling because you really never really even thought about it. Just kind of Sunday, you go to Mass. Okay, I've done my part. That's me keeping holy the Sabbath by going to Mass. If that's what you think, let's talk about it, because that's what Take Two is all about. We have different angles that we look at, and we try to walk away a little bit closer to God by the end of the hour. So Paul, he's first up in Oxford, Alabama, listening on the iHeartRadio app. Hi, Paul. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, my family and I, we basically go to church on Sundays, and after that, we don't engage in any type of business. So there's no going out to breakfast. We don't do any type of shopping, and we don't do anything that would encourage someone else to engage in any type of business. So it's church, and then it's just a day of rest for us, and then additional prayer at home. Or we might go out and do an activity that doesn't involve other people having to work. So if it's going to a park where someone isn't required to be there to work, so on and so forth. So our family has a very orthodox interpretation of the Sunday Sabbath.
Right. So similar to the Orthodox Jews, because they don't engage in anything that has that does any type of action that can be contrary to not honoring God. So let me ask you this, Paul, because I mentioned that I have friends that we hardly get together, and they like to go bowling on Sunday nights. But obviously, if we go to a bowling alley, people are working. So what would you wouldn't do that, right?
Correct. We would not do that.
Okay.
And it's a challenge, but at the same time, we find it to be the decision that's the right decision to make. And it takes a little bit more planning. It takes a little bit more creativity in what you're going to do. But in the end, we feel more fulfilled in taking that extra step and really honoring God and keeping the Sabbath and taking it to that extra step, as opposed to saying, well, we go to church and then we do all the other things. We go shopping and whatnot. and that's fine if that's what other people have chosen to do. I'm not here to judge folks,
Right.
but I'd rather be the example and a witness and say it can be done. At one time it was done,
Mm-hmm.
and we're a young couple, and it can be done. That's all we're trying to say. It can be done.
Sure. Yeah, and Paul, I think Debbie and I both really admire and respect you for this. And I think for anyone who is in a position like you are and can follow this as you do, I think that's very, very respectable. I mean, I was happy to hear you say that, for others, it may not be quite your approach to this. And the reason I was happy to hear you say that, and I'm sure you'd probably agree that, people like, say, an emergency room, emergency room doctors on a Sunday, or, airline pilots, who have to keep schedules and so forth. Would you feel that that's not necessarily, dishonoring the Sabbath if someone's in a position like that where they have to be on the job on a Sunday? Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Emergency personnel, doctors, nurses, those kind of folks, they have to do that work. So there's nothing. They're not dishonoring God in what they do. Myself, the work that I do, I'm often deployed overseas, and so I often find myself working on a Sunday. But that's I'm in an overseas situation, in a war zone essentially. So I don't necessarily have a choice in what I'm doing. But I always try and find a way to carve out time on a Sunday, find the Catholic chaplain, and make time for God on that Sunday. So
Yeah.
there are exceptions to that rule.
Sure.
But if you're in the situation where, hey, it's a Sunday, and you have the opportunity to really take it to that level of making it about church and making it about God, and sort of eliminating the materialism and bowing down. I don't mean to sound a little rough there, but sort of bowing down to the culture,
Mm-hmm.
then I think it can be done.
Right.
So-
Well, it sounds like in your household, you guys have set the bar pretty high on this, on keeping the Sabbath, and you, like you said, it's pretty strict, very disciplined. Can you share with us, Paul, what are the fruits and the blessings that have come out of that? Because I think sometimes the reason why us as Christians, we tend to hesitate because we're like, oh, it's tougher and tougher to be a Christian. I keep, more and more rules, more and more things. But maybe if you could share some of the blessings or what has come out of that might inspire others to do the same that you're doing.
I know for me, I'll speak for myself personally. It's a stronger faith. It's a more zealous faith, a more excitement for the faith, a deeper understanding. I know for my wife and I, it helps us get through struggles and difficulties in the marriage. And then, on Sundays, it's just we don't have to worry about, okay, we've got to go do this. We've got to get this, and this
right.
done because Monday's coming. Sunday, it's, okay, we're going to church. We're going to pray the rosary before church. Mass is there. And then after Mass, it's okay. We've got the day to decompress and just take that big sigh, that big deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
and relax and
Right.
just have that full day of rest. And
Right.
we don't have that running around.
Right.
Um,
Well, Paul, can I
so
just say
it-
something? Yeah, let me say something real quickly, because you just said something that I want to tap into before I forget. I'm getting older, Paul, so when I think it, I got to say it. Okay, so you said it helps my wife and I get through the struggles of marriage. Wow. Can we all appreciate that? Because we all have that. And you're right. I had this huge aha moment when you were speaking, Paul, because I'm thinking, we're constantly thinking of paying bills and doing chores and getting to work and getting our list done and going. We're on that gerbil wheel of life. And you're right. We take all that garbage into the weekend, and then we start back up on Monday, and here we go with more problems, more situations, more miscommunication, more, but you're right. If we get off of that gerbil wheel and we totally decompress, I like how you said that, that could really help our relationships. Oh, Paul, you know what? That is worth a lot. What do you think, Jerry?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every angle that Paul is coming from here is very, very helpful for us. And appreciate it, Paul, very, very much. Thank you for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie today. Have a blessed weekend and a holy, holy Lord's Day, you and your family. Thank you, Paul, so much. Calling from Oxford, Alabama. 833, 833-288 EWTN, 833-288 EWTN. I was reading something, Debbie, maybe we should clarify this a little bit. There was an article on Catholic.com out of Catholic Answers magazine. Actually, it's written by Michelle Arnold, an apologist at Catholic Answers. She made the point that really that technically, I guess we can call Sunday the Christian Sabbath, but technically, as we know, it's really more properly called the Lord's Day, and so, yeah.
Right. Yeah, but for purposes of the commandment, because we're saying keep holy the Sabbath day, purpose of the commandment, that's our keeping of the third commandment. Wouldn't you agree, Jerry?
Oh, yeah.
Sunday?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're getting a lot of YouTube, a lot of social media comments. I just want to share some. Mike said, I honor Sunday by singing in my choir. Love it. That's beautiful because you're praising the Lord, Mike. Way to go. Mario in Texas. You cannot buy beer or wine until noon on Sundays. All liquor stores are closed. Amen to that. I might be moving to Texas. I like that. Carolyn, the one thing I just don't understand, the Holy Sabbath is not Sunday, it is Saturday. Well, that's the Jews celebrate. The Jews honor the Sabbath from just before sundown on Friday to when I believe it's like the first couple stars show up on Saturday. I mean, Friday to Saturday. We choose to honor the Lord's Day, the Resurrection Day. Correct, Jerry?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then Facebook's. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we, as we know, as most Catholics and Christians know, I mean, especially Catholics, we kind of follow the Jewish pattern, although we just shifted a day, and we can begin the Lord's Day, if you will, on Saturdays. In fact, I remember when I was in college at Franciscan University of Steubenville, we had what we called Lord's Day celebrations every Saturday late afternoon. And what we called households, we would gather and we had bread and wine. It was not sacramental, of course, but we would just share. We would fellowship and share in the bread and the wine. And as each person, we would go around the room and share something we were grateful for that week. And that sort of started the Lord's Day. And so anyone, and if people have to work on Sundays, the church certainly makes room for that. But you would be encouraged, obviously, to attend a Mass on Saturday evening if you can, if that's at all possible. Certainly, Debbie, we've got examples like, Paul mentioned he's deployed, around the world sometimes. Military personnel, for example, they may have to go, who knows, weeks without, being able to tap into the sacraments and really, really rest on the Lord's Day. So I think the key here is really balance, Debbie, and common sense. The church makes rules and guidelines, and but certain life conditions might help to mitigate some of those in certain situations.
Right. Well, and Jerry, you were talking about Saturday to Sunday. That's actually, we honor the Lord's Day or the Sabbath. We start on Saturday afternoon and we go all the way till sundown on Sunday. And that's just what we do. We just moved it, one day over from our Jewish brothers and sisters. But it's very interesting when you said that, Jerry, because I think it's important that we do keep the commandment. So many times we look at the commandments and sometimes we think, oh, that happened so long ago with Moses and so long ago. It doesn't relate to us today, but it relates to us more than ever. Stephen said on Facebook they spend time with family and reflect on the readings and how we can use it during the week to come. Way to go, Stephen. That is so, that's music to my ears. I have a catechetical background. I love that. We should be meditating and thinking about how we can incorporate the readings into our life coming up. I just love it. We're getting a lot of comments, Jerry.
We are, and we got, let me see, it was from, let me click back over here.
Okay.
Catherine, one of our listeners, pointed out the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2187, which, Catherine, I actually had that section of the Catechism pulled up on my computer screen already. And as we get set to go to more calls after a short break, I just want to read that paragraph. And by the way, folks, the Catechism of the Catholic Church should be one of your go-to resources. Absolutely. If you don't have a copy of that, they're definitely available in the EWTN Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com. But yeah, the Catechism is what a great gift it was to the Church by Pope St. John Paul the Great back in, I believe, 1994. But paragraph 2187 says, sanctifying Sundays and holy days requires a common effort. Every Christian should avoid making unnecessary demands on others that would hinder them from observing the Lord's Day. Paul was talking about that. Unnecessary demands, that is. Got to keep that in mind. Traditional activities, sports, restaurants, etc., and social necessities, public services require some people to work on Sundays, but everyone should still take care to set aside sufficient time for leisure. So, Catherine, thanks for pointing that out to us here.
Thank you.
833-288-EWTN. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie talking about keeping the Sabbath or the Lord's Day holy.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
A Lenten Reflection with Father Dominic Legg.
Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving are three spiritual practices highly recommended for Lent. Usually we think of a Lenten discipline as giving something up. That would count as a kind of fasting. Or maybe giving money to charity, very important part of almsgiving. And we absolutely should do those things. But according to St. Thomas Aquinas, the most important practice to bring us closer to God is prayer. That's because if we do these other good works like fasting or giving to charity, but we don't have a connection with God, we don't lift our minds up to Him, and we don't have a love for Him in our hearts, then all of those external actions don't have any merit. St. Paul says the same thing in his first letter to the Corinthians. If I give away all I have and have not love, I gain nothing. Let's pray this Lent to give alms and to fast with love.
We need EWTN Radio for the reason that Mother Angelica founded this entire enterprise. She always saw this as a spiritual growth network. It was to be an enterprise in media that reached people in all aspects of their life. She saw this as a holistic approach to reaching the whole person in the middle of the world and bringing them truth and life.
Raymond Arroyo thinks Catholic radio is important. So should you.
Talking today about keeping holy the Lord's Day and how do you do it. I've got some comments that I learned from a very wise priest about folks that have kind of a unpredictable schedule, if you will, during the week and what you can do to keep that time holy for the Lord. Jerry, I just wanted to share, I was chuckling during the break because for 20 years I had in-laws and extended family that were Jewish. And so we used to go from Friday night all the way to Sunday night. It was a very long, restful weekend. So very interesting.
So you observed a Sabbath and
Shabbat.
A Lord's Day.
Yeah. Starting Friday night, my mother-in-law used to light the candles and pray, and it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The ritual, you cannot help but think about, this is that Jesus was a good Jew. Mary was a good Jew, and this is what they did, and how beautiful it is. Just the ritual of it is extraordinary. So, are we going to the phones?
Yes, we are.
Okay, who's that? Mary in Pensacola, Florida, on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Mary. Thanks for waiting, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, thank you. I enjoy your show all the time, so thank you for what you do. But I wanted to say I had left the church for quite a while when I was younger, and I was waiting tables at a buffet restaurant, and I worked all day Saturday and all day Sunday, and I was not, when I started coming back to the church, I actually started going during the week when I was off. because I worked every weekend. And but I did go to confession to a priest, and he told me I really needed to come on Sunday, but I just couldn't do it because I worked. But I did eventually get a job working Monday through Friday, so I did start going to church on Sunday as soon as that happened. But I just know that there are probably a lot of people out there that do have to work because they're supporting a family, especially single mothers. And I don't know if there's an exception for them, but, you know, I know that it is truly difficult when you're in that situation. Yeah. And also, I wanted to say that I live in Santa Rosa County in Florida, and it's a dry county on Sunday. So you cannot buy liquor there. So, and a lot of the local shops also close on Sunday. The locally owned shops, they close on Sunday around here too. So
interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting, Mary. On that point, I wonder if this is more of a regional thing because you know, I live in California, Debbie in Arizona. I can't think of a single business that I know of that is not open on Sundays here. You know, it's just about business as usual. And yet, you know, Debbie and I were in Alabama recently. We had the Stand Tall retreat last weekend, and we came to understand that the county that we were in was a dry county on Sunday as well. So, Debbie, I wonder that maybe in the South, you know, maybe people take this a little bit more seriously. I'd love to hear from people in any other region of the country just about how the general approach to the Lord's Day is, because you know, Mary is pointing out that where she lives, you know, there's a little bit more of a perhaps strict observance of that.
Yeah, Jerry, don't you have any Hobby Lobbies or Chick-fil-A's in your area?
I don't believe so.
Oh, wow.
I mean, those are the big chains, and they are open. I mean, we have Whataburger and everything. They're open, but I'm talking about a lot of, like, the locally owned restaurants and things.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But that are closed on Sunday.
Right.
It's not the chain. I mean, we have the big chains here, but I think maybe, I don't know if it's regional or if it's, like, the more rural towns.
Right.
Might observe it more, but then this is in the Bible Belt, so it could be that too. So,
Mary, I just wanted to say something about your schedule, and I'm so glad that you were able to get it switched where you could go to Mass on Sundays and you talk to a priest. That's very important, and I would encourage others that especially if you work in the hospitality industry. I worked in that for many years, and that just so happens that it's very hard to get off on the weekends because that's when, you know, it's super busy, and I understand that. But I would just encourage those that are in that have that kind of work schedule, please continue to talk to your human resource director or your employer, and share with them that you really would, you really would like to be able to go to Mass on Sundays or Saturdays, and if they could just move your schedule just a little bit, because it really is conflicting with, your conscience, and it's bothering you. And I would share that, because I have seen some really extraordinary creative schedule changes because of folks that have said, I've got to go to Mass either Saturday or Sunday. So I'm so glad that you did that, Mary, and you were persistent and you got your schedule changed. I hope others do that do that as well. Don't give up on asking.
I left the hospitality business and got an office job, so that's when my schedule changed. But yeah, I think a lot of it too is, like I said, the single mothers. They're raising their kids, and that's when they make their money, is on the weekends. And so it's difficult for them to even desire that, especially if they haven't been going to church. But I've been going, I've been back to the church for many years now, and it's been a blessing, and I would not do it again that way. I would really make sure that I did make it to church on Sunday. It can be done. Like you said, Debbie. So.
Right, Mary, and your words are, I think, very, very wise and very beautiful. And I would just kind of extend what you're saying, Mary, to anybody. And Debbie, you were touching upon this. If there's anybody, if you have to work on the Lord's Day on Sunday or on weekends or something, make the effort. If you can't talk to your employer, that's a great idea. Maybe talk to a priest. If your conscience is burdened by this, I'm sure the church pastorally would place absolutely strict requirement on you to change jobs you have to do what you have to do to feed your family. I think that's the point that's coming out here right now. And any attempt that you can make to clear your schedule or to have Sunday, the Lord's Day, free to worship and go to Mass and to rest and honor the Lord, that is all noble and so forth. But if it simply isn't possible, the church would not ask you to do anything that is just simply physically or morally impossible for you to do. Right. So I just wanted to say that so that anyone who's listening, if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm violating some rule or I'm sinning or something, the church, I think I can safely say, Debbie, would pastorally not place that burden on somebody.
And Jerry, here's the thing I wanted to share with our listeners as well. Take a look at the area churches you have and their Mass schedules. Many churches have done unique things, like the Newman Center where I live in Arizona has what we call the Last Chance Mass, and that's at 9 p.m. on Sunday evening. 9 p.m., and that's basically for the students that are working and, can get to Mass. Sometimes it goes to 10 p.m. That's how late it is, depending on part of the year. And then there's some churches that have 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Mass, where you could, I know it's tough to say because you're going to be working 8 hours that day, but if you can squeeze in getting to Mass, it sure would, I think anyway, would make your day a lot better. That's what I did, Jerry, when I was working the restaurant business.
Mary, thank you for your call. You've added a lot to the discussion today from Pensacola and listening to Guadalupe Radio. Thank you so much, Mary. Debbie, I think you're being very generous to the college students. When you said, well, if they have to work and so forth, they go to the 9 p.m. Mass. I think it's just because they sleep until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Don't you think?
I didn't want to say that. Arizona is a party school, but it's a very good school.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get to Patty. Here's the phone number, 833-288 EWTN, 833-288-3986, talking about honoring the Lord's Day, Sunday, going to Mass, resting, having some leisure. The church encourages leisure, absolutely, getting out and just getting your batteries recharged. What do you do as a single person, as a married couple, as a family? Have you come to maybe a fuller understanding and appreciation of how the church calls us to do this over time? 833-288-EWTN. As promised, Patty is next in Louisville, Kentucky, listening on EWTN.com. Hello, Patty. Thanks for your patience. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say that we're finding that we feel better if we don't go out to eat or if we don't go to stores on Sunday. I feel like that if a lot of people are going to restaurants and stores, that companies will get the message that, oh, people want it, so we got to stay open, So I find myself, as much as possible, not going out to eat and not going to stores. And on Sunday, I just feel better about it.
Well, Patty, maybe that's why my grandparents always had an all-day-long Sunday Italian dinner. They would start right after Mass. This is true, and everybody who's Italian out there can weigh in on this, and you know what I'm talking about. You go to Mass, you come home, and you start making the sauce, you start making the meatballs, and it goes all day long, and then you eat at home as a family, and it's just one big, beautiful, restful feast with food and talking. And Patty, when I heard you say that, I was thinking maybe that's the wisdom behind these Sunday dinners, is to have them at home, where we all, the domestic church, where we belong and we're formed. What do you think, Patty? I'm gonna start up the Sunday dinners again at home. I can do it, Patty.
I think you're right. And I know there's always exceptions where, if you visit someone and you feel bad about, expecting anything to eat, so you say, oh, hey, we'll take you out to eat. And there are just different occasions like that are, I think, exceptions. But as a rule, I think it would be good for people to, like you say, stay at home, do things with your family. And I think that's really more about what the Lord is asking.
Right. Yeah, because Patty, I think, and Debbie, you know this too, I think, You know, what this really is about growing in our relationship with God and making more room for Him in our lives to fill us more with His grace and with His life. And, you know, if we shut that off, we kind of remain closed to that by keeping ourselves busy and doing, unnecessary things on Sundays, distracting ourselves and not making ourselves available to God. You know, we're not really growing. I mean, we look at even the land. You know, the Jews always understood that every seventh year you let the land rest. You know, so that it can kind of replenish itself and so forth. So, all of creation has this need to be united to God, and you know, if we don't do that, then we're missing out on something very, very important and not growing in our spiritual lives. So,
well said, Jerry. Well said. That was great. Patty, thank you so much for your contribution today. We really appreciate it. I just want to say something, Jerry, about folks that really spend their time wanting to spread the gospel message and spread the word about EWTN radio and television. I love the media missionaries. I love them. They are the kindest, most loving, caring folks. They want us all to get closer to God. And EWTN does a beautiful job at encouraging the media missionaries to go out into the world and go to the parishes and the local communities and just spread the news that EWTN is alive and well, and hearts are being changed and lives are being changed, all because they hear the gospel message 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you feel, I'm going to say it right now, if you feel like that little urge inside of you, that little nudge, maybe it's the Holy Spirit saying, you know, I can do that. I have a voice. I love EWTN. Why don't you think about becoming a media missionary today? All you got to do is visit EWTNmissionaries.com and join us in sharing the eternal word with the world. I love it.
Yeah, as we get set to go back to calls, I found a quote from St. John Paul II, Debbie, that I think is helpful here because it points out that Sunday is not a day to do nothing, but again, it's a day to spend with God and to have leisure and so forth. John Paul II said, in order that rest, he's so insightful, in order that rest may not degenerate into emptiness or boredom, it must offer spiritual enrichment, greater freedom, opportunities for contemplation, and fraternal communion. Therefore, among the forms of culture and entertainment which society offers, the faithful should choose those which are most in keeping with a life lived in obedience to the precepts of the gospel.
Yes.
So it's not a day to just sit around, twiddle your thumbs, and just sort of, zone out. You know, it's a day to really be attentive, but especially, he says, to those things which are in obedience to the precepts of the gospel. Beautiful.
Right. I love, both John Paul II is one of our favorites, Jerry, and I have to tell you that's exactly what Marty and I do. We actually, on Sundays, we pick a religious film or a documentary or something so that it deepens our spiritual life. And it's so powerful. You know, you wouldn't believe how many times it relates to the readings at Mass. And it's amazing how God works. So I would encourage others to do that as well. Okay, Sarah, you've been waiting so patiently in Bismarck, North Dakota, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Take Two. Hi, Sarah. Hi. You're on.
So I just wanted to say that I appreciate your comments regarding speaking with your employer. As a teenager growing up, myself and three of my siblings worked at a restaurant, and our employer was Catholic, and we would go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the first Mass was at 7:30, and he would take as many people as he could spare from the restaurant to church with him, and then we would be back in time to take care of all the people who came to the restaurant after Mass. But he just made a lasting impression on why it's so important to get there, even if you do have obligations.
Wow, Sarah, I don't think I've heard of a situation like that before. I'm sure there are probably many others like that. But here again, Debbie, this is a business owner who, the beautiful thing about it is, the business owner could have made sure that he was sort of meeting his own spiritual needs and observing the Lord's Day and so forth. But, he wanted to also make that available to the employees, which I think is just a very, very remarkable and noble thing to do.
Oh, wow. I mean, look how you remember it, Sarah. I mean, it left that beautiful impression. I think it's wonderful. I think more folks should do that. I mean, because we don't want our coworkers and employees and people that have to do these jobs on Sundays. We don't want them to be, like you said, Jerry, their conscience be burdened. That's only going to weigh them down. It's going to weigh them down spiritually and maybe even affect their productivity. You never know. Sarah, that's a great. Thank you for calling in and really sharing that. That's wonderful. God bless you. Have a beautiful Friday.
Thank you, Sarah. We're going to go to Ann in a minute. We're getting some email at take the number 2 at EWTN.com. We got an email from Heidi, and she says, you sound a lot like my husband and me. We get up and do the early 8:30 Mass on Sunday, go to breakfast, then come home and watch a reality show just to dream about a new home someday. I love it.
Wow.
Then we usually take a little nap. We might not take the whole day off, but we do relax at least a couple hours and try to make time for ourselves. I have said to Scott, our body is like a library book. We need to return it for renewal to God and in good condition every week, or when we end this life, it needs to go back in good condition, so we are charged a fee. I love that analogy, Heidi. Thank you so much.
That was great, Heidi. I love that. Jerry, I just wanted to share, and I'm not bragging about this, but I just want to share when I was a manager at the hotel, my boss was a fallen away Catholic. And I remember telling him, because I used to, and those of you who are in the restaurant hotel industry, you'll know this. I used to double back on Saturdays. I would work Saturday night till almost midnight, come home, I'd barely sleep, turn around, and I'd open up at 6:30 in the morning on Sunday. So as you can tell, Jerry, there really wasn't any time to go to Mass. And I made a deal with my boss. He was a fallen away Catholic, and I said, his name was John, and I said, John, I can't do this. I've got to go to Mass. And he says, okay, I'll make you a deal. You pray for me, and I'll move your schedule a little bit, and you can go to Mass. I said, deal. I said, only if you eventually come back to the church. And he goes, oh, okay, I'll be open to it. He eventually came back to the church. Took him many years, but he came back. So yeah, you work with people, you can make things happen. Okay, Ann in New Mexico, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Ann. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, it's a pleasure to speak with you both. Such an honor.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
The honor is ours, Ann. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just wanted to get in the conversation and tell you that when my daughter, as a college student, was interviewed for a job at a local chain store that was opening up in our area, she told them that she would like to work for them, but she couldn't work on Sunday. They were generally open on Sunday, and they wanted to hire her, so they did. They hired her, and they never scheduled her to work on Sunday. It was wonderful. But one time, while everyone else was working on Sunday, and the the manager said to her, well, why don't you work on Sunday? Why can't I schedule you on Sunday? And she said, well, I'm a Catholic. And that's all she said. And he looked at her, and he said, I am too. And she didn't know what to say. She just looked at him with those big eyes, and I don't know what he thought, but he never gave her a problem about it again.
Right. Yeah, similar to what my boss was. Isn't that interesting, Jerry?
Well, and these are opportunities to witness. This is the power of that, Ann. I love the conviction that your daughter had. And she probably, I don't know if she knew what the outcome of that was going to be, but maybe she was taking a chance.
No.
Maybe she was, taking a little bit of a risk, kind of standing her ground on this. But her boss, also being a Catholic, this had to really somehow, penetrate his heart. Mm-hmm. And thanks be to God, he was very willing to work with her on that.
Yeah. Your daughter's a strong woman. I love that. You raised a strong woman, and that's awesome, Ann. But the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So you definitely instilled a lot of great things in her. I think it's just totally incredible. I mean, it gives us such incredible hope for the future of our church. Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ann. Keep listening, and we hope that you'll call again anytime. So many ways to listen or watch EWTN Radio and Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And on EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook page, Debbie Adelia says, we go to Mass, we have family time. We take Saturday as a complete rest day. We sleep till 1 in the afternoon, order out food and watch DVDs. And then Sunday, we go to Mass. So that's from
Adelia.
Adelia.
I'm coming to your house.
And Debbie, you'll appreciate this. You were
Yes.
talking about college students.
Mhm.
Anne on Facebook says, if you're a student, you're in class all week, so the weekends are sometimes the only time available for a part-time job. And she says it's a balancing act to fit in school, mass, and work, ... and sleep.
Sure is. It sure is. I remember those days vividly. But that's when I also often say this, Jerry, really, I would ask God and pray to and ask God and ask your guardian angels to really help you with that. I remember there were so many times I would be so tired, Jerry. I'd have my head on the desk and I was like, oh, I got to get up. And I didn't even have enough strength to set my alarm. And I would say to my guardian angel, please wake me up. I got to be on time. And I was always on time. Now, I'm not saying that's going to work for everybody, but it's very interesting how the good Lord will make things available to you and happen so that you can get to Mass. It's amazing what the good Lord will do.
Stephen via email at take2@ewtn.com. Stephen says, God bless you both. What a great topic. When you mention going out to breakfast, isn't that causing someone else to work on Sunday? We have struggled with that concept. Thank you for your great show. And Debbie, we talked about this. I would say, the pendulum swings back and forth and back and forth. And, maybe we have it in our hands to perhaps change the culture's, approach to Sunday if we have the opportunity to abstain from things like that. Maybe, who knows, over time, it could take a long time, but that could change.
Right. Now, who said that, Stephen, about
Stephen,
going
yeah.
out? Okay, so Stephen, here's the thing. I'm not gonna go out anymore for breakfast after Mass. I'm gonna come home and cook bacon and eggs, which I love to do. You know where it comes from for me, Jerry, is as a child, I was one of 6 children. There's 8 of us, and it was a big deal. It was the one time that we went to Mass, all of us, all 8 of us, and then we would go to the pancake house. And I remember it as a small child. I couldn't wait to get to the pancake house. So I think it comes from my childhood, but I'll make it at home. Jerry, I love breakfast. That's my favorite meal.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a couple others from take2@ewtn.com. Shelley. Shelley is I'm not sure where Shelley is, but she says, when I was a kid, it seemed like Sunday was the day when neighbors would visit each other or family visit together. That's become a lost thing when we just go to visit people. Mm-hmm. And we agree with you, Shelley. Family time, neighbors, just being with each other and fellowshipping with one another is really lost in our culture today to a large extent. And Laura via email says, every other weekend I work 8 to 8 in the healthcare field. I have found the only Mass that I can attend on those weekends is at St. Jude's Catholic Church at 7 a.m. That's in Fort Wayne. She says, I have to leave by 7:40 in order to be to work on time. I'm very grateful that St. Jude offers this Mass, although I feel so guilty to leave early. I'm also grateful that I have an opportunity to go to Mass on my working weekends. So, Laura's in one of those situations, where it's maybe not, ideal as she would want it, but she's making that effort.
Making the effort.
Yeah, that's...
Yes.
Bless you, Laura, for that.
Yes, bless you, Laura.
God honors that, Laura. He's looking at your heart. He's looking at your heart, and it's in the right place.
Right, absolutely. Jerry, can I talk about just real quickly Saturday's Best of show?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to share that? Because I want to share about Monday. Saturday's Best of?
Well, yeah, we're going to do the show that we did yesterday. Mm-hmm. Was it yesterday or Wednesday?
It was yesterday.
Yeah, on the tragedy, the tragic shooting in Florida. Very, very powerful show, and we do a Best of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie every Saturday at noon Eastern. That will be the one that was selected, so you'll be able, if you didn't catch that show, please tune in tomorrow. I think you'll be very deeply moved.
Yes, absolutely. Keep the prayers up for the folks in South Florida, please.
What's on Monday?
Please. Monday is Walk the Walk and Talk the Talk. Are you your word? Do you practice what you preach? We want to talk about this. This is very, very important. That's Monday's show on Take Two. But Jerry and I, we hope your Lenten season is going well with lots of prayers and time for your family and friends. Until Monday, have a beautiful, blessed weekend.